Hello everyone, and welcome to Judy's Creations in Crochet. And today is November the 7th, 2024. And welcome everyone, new and returning viewers. I'm so happy that you took the time to stop by to see what's happening here. And I'm going to just do a little bit of an alteration there of the camera. Okay, we didn't have it quite set up right. I'm happy to see you all, and I'm coming to you from Chatham, Ontario, southwestern Ontario, that dips right down there into the US. And I'm all about crochet, as my name suggests. I don't knit at all. And I also like to talk about other things, crochet related, yarn related, pattern related. When it comes to yarn, I am just in love with hand dyed yarn. And I know you hear a lot about yarn in the big box stores and sales that are going on with all of the companies we're all very familiar with. And so that's partly why I like to focus on hand dyed yarn instead. And particularly, I like to show Canadian dyers. I've been focusing completely on Canadian dyers, except for Expression Fiber Arts. I could never give up on them. They have such an amazing variety of yarn bases and beautiful colors. I just love their yarn. So if these are things that interest you, I hope you'll stay and come back again. I'm happy to get to know all of you. And I usually, it's the beginning of the month, and I have a sad tale to tell you. As you notice, Kiki is not up there watching over us. I went to put on Kiki's November dress, if you want to call it that, and Kiki almost doesn't want to make an appearance. She's feeling very naked today because I cannot find her November dress. I moved it from this storage unit and put it in another one. I put all of them over there, and everyone's there except November. And I've looked around the room where it could possibly have gotten to. I don't know. It would not have a reason to leave this room. But poor Kiki doesn't have a November dress to wear this month. So very shortly, I'm going to start on my November item. And as you know from last week's video, I selected these two yarns to make something for November using the inspiration from the bird. I just love all the colors that are in this yarn. And I have a pattern picked out. And as soon as I finish what I am working on, I'll talk about that a little bit later, I will start on the November item. And my hope is that there is enough left over from the two of these that I can make Kiki a new November dress, because I think these would be great colors for November. So, sorry, Kiki, I don't know where your other one went. I have looked and looked, but we'll get you something real soon. And while I'm talking about the monthly mal, for those that are new, we do a mal every month based on the tropical bird. And if you are interested in participating, please go back to last week's, which was actually on October 31st, where we showed the items for the month, and then I showed the bird inspiration for the month of November. And I've neglected, I realized after I was finished, I was so excited about other things, I guess. I neglected to get the calendar out and give you a deadline date. And I'm going to do that now. November ends on a Saturday, which means that the slideshow will be coming to you on a Sunday. I don't really like to do things on Sunday, but I will actually make the video on Saturday and just have it download and be available on Sunday. So I'm going to go with the 27th. I've been using that a lot. So Wednesday, November the 27th will be the deadline date for you to get your pictures to me for November. And I had a few people that were disappointed because they sent it. I know they're thinking, well, she hasn't put the video out yet, but it takes time to make the notes, make the video, and then go back and edit and get all of your pictures in that slideshow. And you know, life is busy here for me in a lot of other ways as well. So the 27th, midnight Eastern Standard Time, that's my time, is when I need your pictures. And sometimes, you know, it can be a little bit late. I've gotten them the next morning and accepted them. But this month, especially since they're coming to me Wednesday, and I'll be starting to make the notes on the 28th in the morning, I won't be able probably to accept anything late. So please keep that deadline in mind and get me those pictures if you want to be in the slideshow. So that's one thing I forgot last week. I've taken care of that. We'll have to take care of Kiki at a later date. And one other thing, no, I forgot two other things, but one of the things I forgot last week was that I had some happy mail, and I received a card in the mail, a pretty envelope even with lots of stickers and everything. And this was from Debbie W., who lives in California, and she sent me a thank you note because she had won, I believe did you win the wheel for the items, or did you win something in September, my birthday month? I'm not sure, but she did receive yarn. I'm thinking she won something in September. Some of that beautiful yarn that I gave away during the celebrations then. And she just wanted to thank me for that yarn that she's going to make a shawl with. So I really look forward to seeing the shawl that you make, Debbie W. And thank you very much for the card. And in the card, I also got this kitty, and it's a kitty magnet. So I would be able to stick it somewhere. They call it a needle minder. I'm not too sure how it would hold the needle, but it's a very strong magnet, and I'm thinking there. I can use it on this. I could use it almost as a shawl pin if it will hold two layers. I'm going to try that later on one of my scarves. Thank you very much. That's so adorable, and I really, really like it. And one other thing I wanted to I forgot to sort of fill in the whole story. As you know, last week I showed you my mood board, and I think today or tomorrow I'm going to get my photos sent over to Gary. The mood board was for Gary at Urban Yarn. You want to check him out. There's still a little time if you can get something made by the end of November. But as you know, I made a cocoon cardigan for my friend Rose. And I didn't have it done last week, but here is the finished cocoon cardigan. I'll put it on so you can see. I did put a little bit around the sleeve, just enough to finish it. And then after I closed it, I did quite a few rounds to bring it in on the front. I took it to her. She seemed to really like it. And then we noticed there were a few, I don't know where they are, but there are a couple of threads that did not get woven in. So I said, well, I'm going to take it back and I'll fix it up and bring it back to you. And I meant to take a picture of her wearing it. And if I get a picture of her, I go back on Thursday. If I get a picture of her wearing it, I may post it at some point, maybe in Instagram or somewhere. But anyway, there it is, all done. And it took 2 balls or 2 cakes of cookies. And this is from Hobie. And I had this much left over. I caked it, and it had, I think it was, there it is, 49 grams in it, which means there's about 120 yards, a little less, 100 and maybe 115 meters and 125 yards, somewhere thereabouts. So it is enough to do something more with. I'm just not sure what. I'm not going to worry about it. The cakes had 600 meters in them, so you can see that these use quite a bit. I would say about 475 meters. So that is my finished object this past week, although it was almost finished last week. This week, and I didn't bring it down to show you because I have so much more to show. This week I am working on a poncho, one last poncho for the craft show, and making it out of scarfie in the denim color. And I will, I'm sure, have it done to show you next week, because I have a feeling that tonight and tomorrow would probably finish it up. I have a couple rows at the bottom, and then I want to put a bit of a neck on it. So that will be available next week to show you. And then I'm done everything. As soon as I'm done that, I'm going to get over to using this yarn and get that done, hopefully in the next week. So, this is the 7th, and that means that I have to do stash down, and I forgot to bring the information. I know I did 6 items in the stash down, so I'm just going to have to go check my notes and get back to you. All right, I'm back. Sorry about that interruption, but I realized I had forgotten to bring my notes because I lost track of the fact that today is the first Thursday of the month. And at the beginning of every month, I do what is called a stash down episode, where I talk about items I have made from my stash for the previous month. And as I've said many times, some people, there is a group, and some of them keep track of the number of balls or the number of ounces or the meterage or whatever. And I just keep track of the items. Now, I didn't count this in October because technically I finished it a little bit on November the 1st, but I made the bulk of it in October, but it's going to show up next month. So I finished 6 items using yarn from my stash this past month. And I'm really, really pleased about that. It's better than I've done any other month. Now, mind you, they were a little bit smaller projects. So I made 3 in the month of what I call a bandana cowl hoodie. One of them is actually called the Imani shawl. I'm going to put pictures of each finished project up here. I did not bring them in, and they are all going to the craft show with me. So 3 different bandana cowl hoodies. And I have a feeling they might be very well received at the craft show. Then I made one poncho, the one that's made with, I think they call it fuchsia. And again, you're only getting pictures. And there's a picture of the poncho. Again, it's going to the craft show with me. Then I made a boho shawl Did I show you that last week? I know that good response about it with all of the fringe, and that I did a good job using up that yarn, that the two balls just didn't match the way I thought they should have. And so that's a shawl. And then I made also the Sherilyn shawl for the mal, and I showed you that on last week's video before I showed your makes, and that was done for the mal, and that is going to go to the craft show with me as well. So it's 6 more things I added, plus the poncho I'm making right now. So I'm really happy with what I did accomplish last month, given all that's going on in my world. So that is stashed down for the month of October, and everything I made in October was yarn from my stash. And I have some plans of things to make this month. How much I'll get done, I don't know, but so far everything I'm planning to make, again, will be with yarn from my stash. So what I wanted to do today, and I don't know how long this is going to take, but I thought this would be the appropriate time, as next week's a little bit too late. People have said they would like to see what I'm taking to the craft show, and I can't show you everything. Now, what is it, about a month ago, I showed you the scarves, what I call fashion scarves. I did show you quite a collection of those, and I found 1 or 2 more. But you have seen those that are going to the craft show, and some of you purchased some of those, and I want to thank you very much. Today, I want to focus on 2, maybe 3 areas. I'm going to start by showing you what I call asymmetrical triangles. Now, some will call them shawls, some will call them wraps. They are all asymmetrical. You've seen some of them recently and some of them maybe quite a while ago, but I also have lots of new viewers all the time who wouldn't have seen these when they were made. And so I'm going to show them, and if there is something you see that you'd be interested in having, please email me. I'm going to make sure I hold each one up long enough that you could take a screenshot of it and then contact me, and I can tell you a little more about it. Like, for instance, what the fiber content is and what the price is. I don't have time to do that with every item on this video, or we would be here till tomorrow probably. So just give me a second. And I have the first batch. So I'm going to do the asymmetrical triangles, and then I want to do wraps. Those are the 2 things I want for sure to do. Those, I think, are my biggest categories. If I get through them with a little bit of time, I might show you shawls. We'll see how the time goes. But when I was gathering these, I was really super surprised at how many asymmetrical wraps, I guess you could call them, I have made. And I was really pleased with them. So this one, these all have to get labeled before I go to the craft show in 10 days. So I'm going to be very busy. Now this would make a great Christmas item. It started down here with the green, and it works up into what was sort of a red, green, white yarn, and then there is this burgundy. So I'll hold it up. It works into an asymmetrical shape. And then when you get, whoops, you know something? I'm wrong. It started with the burgundy end and worked up to this asymmetrical shape up to here. And then you add on only one side of it, the green. Yeah, sorry about that. So here is the best view I can give you if you're interested in that particular shawl wrap. It is quite long, quite big, and you could wear it as a shawl because of the length of it. Not all of them can be worn as shawls, but that one definitely can be. The next one, this was made with a bundle of minis, and it came with a mohair to put with them. So it starts here. So this is very soft. I don't know if you can see the fuzziness. It has mohair with it on all the rows except the bright pink row. That's put in there as a highlight. I think I had that separate. But anyway, there's a mohair, a light blue mohair, and it is strictly asymmetrical in shape. And this is a bluey color. Is coming across gray, but is a very dull blue. So anyway, here is, this one isn't as big as the last one. You'd wear it more like a fashion scarf in my mind. They're all fingering unless I tell you differently. Now, mind you, fingering with a mohair is a wee bit heavier, almost sport. This next one, though, is one of the few that I have in DK weight, and it was made with Sparkle DK from EFA, and it starts here, and it gets wider, and then it adds in the gray, and then it adds in the black. I'm sure you can see the sparkle in the black. You can't see it in the gray. I think, yeah, you can maybe see it there in the burgundy. So there is that one, and it's bigger than the last one, and it is thicker than the others because it is DK, but a very nice, soft, squishy DK. So that's that one. Now this one I think I did last year, and I forget the name of it, but it's where you take two different gradient cakes, you know, the gradient cakes, the mill end ones, and you work an asymmetrical triangle using a moss stitch, and you change color every 2 rows, and it has a special way to make the change so you don't carry the thread up the side. And here it is. I used to know the name of it, but I've forgotten. And I was going to make a second one. If you recall, I showed it a couple weeks ago, and then I decided to frog it. And it ends with these pale colors. So I wish I'd started with the pale end of one rather than the 2 brights together. But it's pretty, and I'll hold it up, and it's a good size as well. Again, this one is big enough. It can be worn as a shawl. And I would say it's a wee bit heavier than most of my fingering weights. It's the cotton acrylic cakes, and it sort of feels like a sport weight. Now this one you just saw because this is the one I did for the monthly mal, and it is teal, and it works into the brown. Two colors I wouldn't think to put together, but you know, when I was finished with it, I was very happy with it because those were the bird colors, right? So that's that one. Not quite as big as the last one. Now this next one is a good size again. This was made with fingering, not fingering, of course it's fingering. It was made with mini skeins that I got in not this past Christmas, but the year before, when I got all of the hand dyed, and they went from the greens through the blues, the turquoise, and then they went into the purples and fuchsias, and I broke it in 2 sections, and these are all the minis that were in the blue and green. So I believe it started with the blue, and it worked through to the green, And it was like an asymmetrical, but it had a point on it. And then you get to a certain point and you start closing in. It's really hard because these blend to each other so well. You can't exactly see where that change occurs here. But again, this is definitely big enough for a shawl, and it is sparkle. These are sparkle minis that I got in an advent, and it's half of the advent. So there you go. There's that one. If you like blues and greens, that is really pretty. Now this next one is blues and greens too, but these are more vibrant blues and greens. These were not minis. These were just two skeins I had. And it's called something waves. I forget the name of the pattern, but it starts here and then it's got waves of blue. So this is a variegated and the waves of blue. And you know what? I believe I did this as a test. And it gets wider, as all asymmetricals do. And then it ends with this large section of blue. And the blue is the lacy part, the waves. And the variegated is just a straight double crochet. So I'll hold that up. It is quite long, but it doesn't get into a shawl shape. This is one I would definitely call more a wrap, that you would wrap around your neck a few times, and it's quite lovely. But I don't know what yarn it was made of. Fingering weight for sure. I'll put that one over here. And this next one is sort of Christmassy too, but it's duller than the last one. And it's working with, this feels like Oasis. I don't have a tag on it, but I think this is Oasis fingering here because it is very, very silky. If not, then it's pearlescent fingering because it's definitely got a silky feeling. And then it works into this green, and the green feels like it could be a mirage, or I was going to say alpaca silk DK, but it's not as heavy as alpaca. So I have to think it's a mirage yarn from EFA, which means it's got several different fibers in it. Really nice. But anyhow, you can feel the silkiness here. So anyway, it starts out with this variegated reds and greens, and you can see it, some solid, some open, and there's some more open, and then we get into the greens, and it gets wider, of course, down here. So I'll try to hold it up and open. I'd have to go looking. I would wonder if this isn't an EFA pattern that I followed, but I can't say for sure. It would be quite pretty again at Christmas. The reds are a little bit less bright. Even the green isn't a real bright. It's more like sort of an evergreen color. I'm really glad now that I have a way to record everything I'm making, because I look back at something like this and I really wish I knew what was in it, but I think it was before I had this app on my iPad. Now this next one, it's sparkle again, which makes me wonder if it's a sparkle DK. It's a little bit heavier, but not a lot heavier. And sometimes you get, the fingering weight that's nylon and merino. Some are thinner, some are thicker. So I'm not really sure. But this is definitely I don't know that you can see the sparkle, but it definitely is a sparkle. And it, I don't even remember when I made this. You can see it has some open rows in it, but it's fairly solid. And there are some rows with what I called the double cross stitch. Remember we did that in the summer? Can you see the cross stitches there? Yeah. And then solid, and then your open windows again. And again, this isn't as big as some. A nice good size for a wrap, and very pretty colors. All right. Now we're getting into a couple older, I think that one's older. And this feels like it has some cotton in it. I don't know what yarn I used, but it's an EFA. Starts with one. I made this, I believe, for one of our Mal last year, I think. There's with your reds and into your blues and then into the darker blue. You can see the pattern keeps changing, and it is one of those what they call kite shapes. So it's getting bigger in a V shape, and there's a change. There's like flowers in the pattern. And then here we go with the open, and then there's the windows. And then when you get to the end here, when you finish this red here, you keep on going on the one side of the V. You stop on the one side, there's flowers again, and you keep going with the other colors out here to finish it off. And I wish I knew what yarn I had used. And there you have it. So it makes more like, when you do that, you get more of a shawl shape. You get, you know, the wings on both sides with a center point. And you can see this is quite long because it's way longer than my wingspan. But I'll hold it up if you want to take a shot of it. And it really, really feels like it's something with cotton in it, but I can't figure out what I would have made this with. I don't know. It's hard to know. Like I said, I didn't label a lot of these as I was doing them, and I'm really sorry I didn't label them, but I might just have them in my Ravelry project pages, and that might help. So if somebody's interested, I will go back and have a look. And the next one, these were just odd balls of yarn I had, and they are sparkle. And I made this with 4 colors, and then I cut before the end and decided to keep the last 2 colors to make a shawl with. So it starts with this. This is sparkle. All the colors, the first 3 are sparkle, the last one isn't. So it started here, and it gets wider. This is all just regular double crochets, and then you get to, it's an interesting stitch. I don't know what it is, but you see it changes color, and then it goes into this aqua or teal color, which is very, very open. And then finally this darker blue and purple, mostly purple, but there's some teal in it too. And this color is not sparkly, but the other 3 are. And it is just a very long, you can see how long it is, and it's strictly an asymmetrical shape. And I'll hold this part of it up, although there is some of this other color in it. I'll put both parts up. And I do have a tag on this, and it's all merino nylon stellina. Very pretty colors. And this is the color I was thinking I would like to put with that yarn from Adam. But Adam emailed me showing me a color he has, and he stitched up a sample, and I'm really happy with it. So I did order that. Alrighty, we have one last asymmetrical triangle, and then I'm going to have to pause and go and get the wraps. So this one is much smaller. This is, I forget the name of it, but I know some other ones out there made it as well. This is a Carmen Heffernan pattern, and here is where it starts. And it's open, and every so often it has sort of like a solid row. In this busy yarn, you don't see it as much. And I did know the name of it, but I have forgotten. And again, it would be more a scarf size. And there's a picture. All right, I am going to pause my video, and I'm going to put these all into a box, and I'll be back with the wraps in a minute. So I'm back, and these are all wraps, and I have made most of these quite a while ago. Now, some of them are tagged, so I can tell you a little bit about what's in them. So for example, this next one I'm going to show you says it has alpaca, silk, and yak in it. And I made this as part of a crochet along from EFA. So you can see there are a variety of stitch patterns working across. And by wrap, I mean it's a rectangle. A wide rectangle. And there we keep going. And then it goes back in the same patterns. So you can see it's got a decent width to it. And as for the wingspan, it's more than my wingspan. I have to think this is maybe 72 inches long. It is very, very soft. I think it was made with vellum. I don't remember if that's what vellum is the alpaca silk yak. Quite a good size. If I hold up half of it, whoops, it's gotten turned on me. I'll hold up half of it for the screenshot if you're interested. This has 1, 2, 3, I think it's got 4 colors in it. 1, 2, no, it's only got 3 colors, but I had to use doubles. And it's even wide when folded in half. But it feels very, very heavenly. So that's that one. The next one I know is bamboo, and it's strictly made with one of the boos from Lion Brand. I don't know which. Kaboo. Nice pale light color. And it looks like it might be a 2-row repeat. It's a good width, that's for sure. And of course, being a boo, it feels silky. That's what bamboos feel like. And there is a good screenshot for you. And it is, again, it's about a little wider than my wingspan. And that is one of the more reasonably priced items because it's made with Lion Brand, not hand-dyed yarn. Next one, I made this. It's sort of like a scarf, but it's wide enough to be a wrap. And I believe I made this with a number of minis. I don't think it was an advent calendar. It might have been one of the fall ones I got, and it's a bias scarf, but can be worn like a wrap because I made it, as you can see, fairly wide. It's a little plainer in the stitch. Beautiful, beautiful fall colors. And it's coming back to me that I made this a year ago when we were doing the year of monthly flowers. And I had those beautiful, I think it was marigolds. And I had that beautiful collection of minis. I bought 2 sets of them. And this is what I made with those colors. So I'll hold it up here to try and get several of the colors in. And again, a beautiful wrap. But it could be a scarf if you wanted to, just, fold it over. This one, again, was made with a lot of minis. And some of the minis, all of the minis except the gray. This was made with a gray and a black. And the gray and black are Mirage Sport from EFA, which means it's got some heavenly fibers in it. I'm not going to look it up. And all the minis look like they are sparkle minis. I don't see, there's a little sparkle coming through there. And see the sparkle on that? Oh yeah, definitely you can see some sparkle there. I had a lot of beautiful colors to put in, and it's supposed to alternate the charcoal and the gray. Actually, it's black and gray, black and gray. And this was a pattern by, I think she's called Fiber and Fox, something like that. But anyway, it's a decent width and definitely quite long. And I'll hold it up there. Oh, beautiful scarf. I would love to keep all of these, honestly. There isn't a one I don't like. There's a couple that I probably wouldn't wear the colors, but beautiful. I don't remember much about this one. Again, it is made with some minis, and it's merino nylon and metallics, and it's using a sort of a wave, a ripple, a wavy ripple. This gray has sparkle in it. Oh, so does the next one. Oh, they all have sparkles in them. Oh, okay. You'll have to take my word for it. I don't want to take a lot of time. Oh, can you see the sparkle showing up or not? Even the gray has sparkle in it. Can you see the sparkle? Oh, maybe you see a little bit of sparkle. A lot of pretty colors. Again, this is done with minis. See if we can see the sparkle in this one. You see any sparkle there? Oh, down here. I see the sparkle in it there. The whole thing is sparkles, so if you like sparkles like I like sparkles, this is a good choice. And again, it is quite wide, or quite long, I guess. Average width, you could make that into a scarf. A lot of unusual colors, actually. And I don't know what advent calendar of yarns that's from, or was it just random minis I had, and they were all sparkles, so I put them together in one wrap. some beautiful colors in it. I love the colors in the end there, and the sparkle is just phenomenal out here, but I guess you can't see it. This is a wrap that's again, it was done on the bias, and I think this was made with twisted tweed. The blue and the green are twisted tweed. Oh, even the gray is twisted tweed. Can you see the tweed there? So that means twisted tweed is a sport weight. So a teeny bit more weight, a little heavier, little warmer, and it switches over to the green, and then it goes into the green to finish it up. And it's quite lengthy as well. 3 different colors of twisted tweed. And I'm going to hold it up here, see if you can get a good shot of it. It feels quite cozy. Yeah, merino, fine merino, and Donegal. And it's the Donegal that gives it the twisted tweed, the tweed bit. It's in it. I think I'm going to take this off. Next, I didn't make this too long ago. I think I made this, I might have made it last fall. It might be that long ago. But it's all DK. And again, it's minis. And I alternated the brown with the various colors that I'm thinking I got in like a Halloween one. Just leave the box alone, buddy. You don't need to get in it. No. And if there's a way to get in that box, he'll be in it. Now, this is much more a scarf width. I mean, some people might like it just as a little wrap, but I think it's more a scarf width. Very, very fall. And no, you don't. Up, get up. Sorry. I knew he was about to jump in that box, and we don't need that. So, if you love fall earthy colors, this is definitely the one for you. Yeah. So again, it's way longer than my wingspan. Oh, that's close to 6. I bet you that's 8 or 9. I remember now, I measured this at 9 feet at the time. 9 feet long by 9 inches wide, something like that. So let me hold it up for you to get one shot of it. Let's get some pretty colors in it. Last year at the craft show, I had all of these, and I had a very, very poor way of displaying it. I had one of those clothes racks where you hang clothes to dry, and everything's hanging down and you can't see anything. This year, I'm going to spread them out on the table so people can see, because I have some beautiful, beautiful wraps, and I'm hoping that I sell some of them. Now, this one, I don't know anything about this one. Again, it's done with minis, and it's just solid double crochets and then rows of open, chain one in between. But again, it's minis. Some very, very pretty colors. I remember having the box with all of the colors laid out. I have a picture of all the colors in the balls laid out in the box. Again, this is scarf size, I would say. And this is just a bunch of minis I had that I put together in kind of what looks like to me a bit of a fade. I don't think they all came together. And again, well, this one isn't quite as long as the last one, but it's still pretty long. Might be 8 feet long. And I'll just hold it there so you can get a good shot of it. I remember working on this because I remember the picture that I took of all of these balls in the box. And sometimes it's very fun to work on something like this because the color is changing quickly. You don't get bored of it because you've always got a new color on your hook. And this has a lot of very pretty colors. It's got some colors I'm not fond of, but everything can't be my colors. This one again was an EFA cowl. Bamboo, merino, and tencel. Makes me think it's done with their Luster Sport. And this had a very unique pattern to the changing of colors. So you had 5 colors, I believe, and you did this with that as the contrast. And then you move to the next color, but you use this color, the main one back here, as the contrast. And then you moved on to gray, but you use the blue as the contrast. And finally you moved to pink. 1, 2, 3, maybe it's 4 colors. And the pink used the gray as contrast. And then you just reversed it. You did gray with pink contrast. And then you went to the blue and used the gray contrast, which would be the reverse of the other side of the scarf. And you kept going, and there are puff stitches or clusters in there, and you worked back in reverse. So one side, and it is wrap, it's the width of a wrap, and one side is the reverse of the other, and the middle you can see where they reverse. So how wide is it? Oh, it's quite a length again. I would say this one is maybe 7 feet. And it's all EFA yarns, and it was pretty sure it was an EFA cowl that I was working on when I did this. I've participated in the past in a number of their cowls. I've never been lucky enough to ever win anything in their cowls, but EFA would have so many people participating. But that is an EFA pattern. And here is another EFA, and I'm almost certain this is the very first EFA cowl I participated in. And this was done with cash silk sock. I remember working on it at the time, and I had problems with the color, having enough of the various colors. So this has cashmere and silk in it if it's done with cash silk sock. It had a very interesting pattern in it. The first part was fine, just open spaces in this cluster. The next part was where I ran into some problems in getting the pattern right. I think I had to frog a time or two because I didn't do the right thing. I didn't have the count right. And then it goes into the same pattern as the beginning, but in this color. And then you work back. The cream was where I had the problems in this section here. You were putting, at one point you put 7 fans, and when you went back to the other half of it, you had 7 double crochets together. You had to be real careful with that. So that's it. It's very, very soft. I mean, we're talking cashmere. So, and there were one, two, three. I think that took two. I'm thinking there are either 5 or 6 skeins involved in this. So, there's a lot of yarn in here. I'll hold it up half in half. That's definitely more than 3 feet there. So I'm going to say this must be close to 7 feet long. And you can see it's quite wide, wider than the others. And it feels lovely. I mean, there's silk and cashmere in it just from the feel of it. Yeah, one of the first big cows I did, because if you follow EFA, you see that most of the patterns that they come out with take, well, I don't know if they have any with 3, but 4 and 5 and sometimes more skeins of yarn. They're always fairly large. They always use a lot of yarn, and I get it. They're making patterns that use a lot of yarn so they can sell a lot of yarn. I'm almost to the end. This is partly cash silk sock. I know that this is cash silk sock here. It's yarn that I worked with and had to tear out when I made a top because I had all these skeins that were different dye lots, didn't match, so I had to tear it apart and do something else. Now the other yarn with it, I have to guess it's also this is cash silk sock, and I hope it says that. Yep, cashmere and silk. So again, this feels really nice. And some of you may remember me doing this pattern. I thought it was unique. It starts with a hexagon in the center, and then you build off the 2 sides and you put a long piece on the side of each. Now, it should have been longer on the sides, but I ended up making that center hexagon bigger than it was supposed to be because I wanted a good size wrap. I wanted it wide enough. I probably could have stopped a little bit sooner, and then it builds off the other side as well. So it's like an arrow on each side. And lengthwise, let's see. Oh, again, it's probably easy 7 feet, maybe 6.5 to 7. It's quite wide though. Definitely wrap for sure. And again, it feels wonderful. And let me hold it up so you can get a screenshot of it. Quite pretty. This is the lavender tea. They use this color in quite a few of their bases. Lavender tea is a very common color for EFA. So I have just one more wrap in there, and I think maybe I have time to show just a few shawls. I don't want to get carried away with too many shawls. I find that if I roll them up, they don't get as creased, and some of them are so awkward to fold, and they travel better. And this is the last one, and I made this in the spring when Gina and I did the cow, the mal together. So if you've been around just since the spring, you'll recognize this. Again, 3 different yarns, and I'm trying to remember, but I can't, the name of the pattern, and it changes colors between those 3 different colors as we go. And I would have adapted it and not followed the pattern perfectly because there were some sections with so many holes, such open lace work. I didn't care for it. So anyhow, it's a good length. It's easily 7 feet. It might be more. and width-wise, maybe a foot wide, and not colors that are something I would wear, but I know some people love these colors of golds and greens. Yeah. So that's the end of my wraps. Maybe you saw something you liked. And if there is something you're interested in, like I said, feel free to email me and we can discuss the particulars. I can tell you more about them if I didn't tell you what they had in them. So, shawls. Some of these shawls you've seen recently. I know that you saw, this is my one with raven that I made just, September, because it's the blue and the black of the raven. And by the way, did some of you order raven this fall in their yak silk? I got mine, and I don't think I've shown it to you yet. And so that's something I'll have to show you maybe next week in my EFA order. And here's another shawl. It's not as deep, and I would have shown you that one fairly recently. Here are some shawls from the past. There are shawls and there are ponchos here. I don't think I'm going to show you everything. This is the shawl I did for Gary's mood board last spring. I still really, really like this shawl. It has 4 yarns, and I'm pretty sure I used Mirage Sport. It's a beautiful shawl, and it's got quite a bit of width on it. And here's a shawl I made with a Stenley cake, which is usually cotton and acrylic, and I combined it with a mohair. See the mohair on it? So it's a gradient cake. Starts at gray, purple, and gets out to the darker purple. Has a nice pattern in it, and it feels very nice because of that mohair. I just wish I'd started a little farther in the cake so I could put a little more of the dark purple on it. So there's a couple of shawls, and those shawls are fairly recent that you've seen up there. And here are a few shawls I've made with the gradient cakes that I made quite a while ago. I'll just pull part of it out. I love the colors in this one. Again, it's a full shawl, but I'm only holding part of it open so that I can fold it back up and hang it up. And these are all gradient cakes here. This one, I think I might have done this. This is Granny Meets Virus. I think I might have done it in the summer. And I did 2 Granny Meets Virus. I did that orangey one, and I did this teal one. And I guess I have one more I can show you. Then I need to come to the end because we've been long enough. I've got to get all of these labeled, and I got to get them all packed. Some are labeled, but I got to get them all packed away in my storage containers before next week. And this one I did again from a gradient cake. this had to be Yarn Art Moonlight because it has, you can see maybe the sparkle in it. And it's just, oh, this is actually a poncho. Well, there you go. There is a poncho made in that sparkle red. Now, this is because it is the gradient cakes. I make a few of these, and I think they are perfect for indoor wear. You know, especially with the sparkle. This would be so perfect to have over just a black turtleneck and black pants, and then you put this on to dress it up. And it's so lightweight. It can be worn. In the house, I have a family member who bought one a couple years ago, and she wore it to her Christmas party. That, not this color, she picked her colors. So that is a poncho. I have two kinds of ponchos, the outdoor type that are warm, and then these lightweight ones you can wear inside. And this was made with probably flowers, Yarn Art Flowers Moonlight. And this second one, I got two over here. I'll show them too, and then we'll be done. The second one is made with I'm pretty sure this is a woolly whirl. And again, it's a poncho, and you can see the colors, great fall colors. Cotton and wool. Yeah, that's a woolly whirl from Shapies. And then this is another Yarn Art, or it might be a Hobie. I think this is a Hobie Cotton King cake. And that's the poncho. I'm glad that I have three of them. I wanted to make another and didn't have time, but I'm glad to see I have a couple of them for a little variety from the heavyweight ponchos that you would rather wear outside when the weather's getting cold. These are good for indoors, or you could wear them, late spring or early fall when it's just a wee bit nippy outside. So that's all I'm going to show you of what I have made for the craft show. And I'm sure you were wondering about this one. This was actually Shawls. You know the boho shawl I made with a fringe on it? Well, I did, this is done with Date Night from Lion Brand. I made two of those, and then I put them together, just tack them together at the shoulders. So you have like a poncho, but the sleeves are open. And in my opinion, this makes excuse me for that. This makes a very pretty party cover up. And it, like I said, it's made with Lion Brand Date Night. And you make one shawl and you make the other shawl, and you just stack them together for about an inch either side for the shoulders. And I have made a couple of these because I love the Date Night sparkles. I made one that's kind of a raspberry red or winey red for myself. Not that I'll be at any party that I know of, but if ever comes a time I want something a little dressy, I can wear that, or I can sell it at some point. But that's what's hanging up there, if you're wondering. So I've taken more than enough of your time, so you didn't get to see any acquisitions today. But what I did want to tell you is that last week, after you saw the slideshow on Thursday, I believe that same day I ended up getting my shipment from Polka Dot Creek of my first advent calendar. Now it is all singles, it's not wrapped or anything, so I took it to my friend Bonnie along with some advent boxes, and she's going to put those yarns, I didn't even open the package, she's going to put those yarns in little advent boxes for me and bring them back. So she's having fun with them right now. And I heard from Borealis, and Borealis is the one last year that did the advent minis that were all sparkle. And I intend to take last year's and this year's and put them together in a blanket. And I had a conversation with her about a very, very light silvery gray. And so she's dyeing up some full hanks of the silvery gray and sending it with those. So, you know, in about another 10 days or so, I'll be receiving that advent calendar as well. But I haven't heard anything from Green Button Jar yet, who is in Windsor. And hopefully within the next week or so, she'll be sending hers out and I'll hear from her. So a little later in the month, we'll be talking about December and how we're going to look at all those luscious Advent calendars. But for the remainder of November, I have two acquisitions, one from EFA and another one that I've had for a couple of months that I just want to get into. I haven't even looked at it all. I looked at one skein and said, "Oh, I got to save this and share it with you." And so we have a couple of weeks of acquisitions. I think I have another EFA on the way. So we'll see some acquisitions through November, which will take us to our Advents in December. So I hope you enjoyed seeing all of this. This is a couple of years, maybe 3 or 4 years worth of work, and I'm really hoping that people like these items and that I do well at the craft show. The craft show is another week after this Saturday, so I might mention it again next week when I see you. So until next week, happy hooking.